If you're a Star Wars fan, chances are you've heard of Order 66. It's one of the most infamous moments in the entire Star Wars saga, an event that shocked the galaxy and fundamentally altered the course of its future. The execution of Order 66 marked the annihilation of the Jedi Order and the ascension of the Galactic Empire. But have you ever wondered about the deeper story behind this moment? What were the circumstances that led to its execution? Why did the Republic's clone soldiers follow it without hesitation? Today, we'll explore the true story behind Order 66, from its dark origins to the galaxy-altering consequences that followed. The Clone Wars were a massive and bloody conflict that spanned the galaxy, fought between the Galactic Republic and the Separatists, or confederacy of independent systems. On one side were the Republic's clone soldiers, genetically engineered for war, and on the other side were the Separatist droid armies. The war was brutal, lasting for several years, and both sides suffered tremendous losses. The Republic, however, had a distinct advantage: its clone army. The clones, bred for war, fought with unparalleled loyalty, or so it seemed. But their loyalty, as we would soon learn, was not as genuine as it appeared. In truth, the creation of the clones was part of a much darker and more insidious plan, one orchestrated by Darth Sidious, the Sith Lord, who was secretly controlling both the Republic and the Separatists. Sidious had long desired to eliminate the Jedi Order, the one force in the galaxy that stood between him and total power. Although the Jedi were loyal to the Republic, they had begun to sense that something was amiss. Sidious had already begun to manipulate events behind the scenes, orchestrating the Clone Wars to serve his greater goal: to rise to power as the Emperor of the galaxy. But to truly solidify his control, he needed to ensure the eradication of the Jedi. This is where Order 66 comes into play. Order 66, though merely one part of Sidious's plan, was the pivotal moment that would forever change the galaxy. The clones, while fiercely loyal, were not truly free. Unknown to them, their loyalty had been engineered from the start. When the clones were created, an inhibitor chip was secretly implanted in their brains. This chip, though not immediately active, would activate at a predetermined moment, compelling the clones to obey a specific command, no matter the cost. Sidious, having long ago foreseen the need for such a failsafe, knew that the Jedi would eventually stand in his way. He needed a way to eliminate them without triggering a rebellion from the Republic or the galaxy at large. His solution? Order 66. A simple, cold command to execute the Jedi as traitors. The true tragedy of Order 66 lies not just in the fact that it was carried out, but in the manner in which it occurred. The clones, who had fought side by side with the Jedi, now turned against them in an instant, driven by the hidden command within their minds. For years, the Jedi had led and fought alongside their clone troops, building trust and camaraderie. Yet, when the moment came, all that loyalty was swept aside by the execution of one dark command. It is important to understand that the Jedi were not simply soldiers in the traditional sense. They were warriors, diplomats, and peacekeepers, trained to uphold justice in the galaxy. The Jedi had come to trust the clones, having fought many battles with them, and they never suspected the betrayal that lay ahead. When Order 66 was issued, it was an utter shock to the Jedi, many of whom had no idea that such a command even existed. They were caught off guard, unable to defend themselves against the very soldiers they had trained and fought beside. But it was not just the Jedi who were impacted. The execution of Order 66 marked the beginning of a new era, a dark one. An era in which the Jedi were hunted to near extinction, their once thriving order reduced to mere shadows. Jedi such as Plo Koon, Aayla Secura, Cudi Mundi, and countless others fell to the very clones they had fought alongside. The survivors of the Purge, including Obi-Wan Kenobi and Yoda, were forced into hiding, knowing that the galaxy they had once served was no longer a place of peace and justice. Among those most affected by Order 66 was Anakin Skywalker, the former Jedi Knight who had fallen to the dark side and adopted the name Darth Vader. Anakin, who had once been the Jedi's greatest hope, was now their greatest enemy. As Darth Vader, he played a central role in the execution of Order 66. Not only did he lead the clones in hunting down the remaining Jedi, but he also personally executed the younglings, Jedi apprentices who had been trained to protect the galaxy. His actions were cold, calculating, and devoid of the compassion that had once defined him. This moment of utter cruelty marked the full transformation of Anakin Skywalker into Darth Vader, the Emperor's right hand. But even among the clones, there were those who resisted. Some, like Captain Rex, began to question the command as they watched their Jedi comrades fall. Rex, who had fought alongside Jedi like Anakin Skywalker and Ahsoka Tano, struggled with the sudden betrayal. His bond with the Jedi made it difficult for him to execute Order 66, even though the inhibitor chip in his brain urged him to do so. In a rare moment of clarity, Rex began to doubt the legitimacy of the command. He ultimately found a way to remove the chip, which allowed him to break free from Sidious's control. Rex became one of the few clones to resist the purging of the Jedi, though he would not escape the guilt of the role he had once played. Yet, for the vast majority of clones, there was no such resistance. Once the command was issued, they carried it out without hesitation. The Jedi, who had once been the guardians of peace and order in the galaxy, were now hunted down by their own brothers in arms. The result of this betrayal was swift and brutal. The Republic, once a beacon of hope and democracy, was transformed into the Galactic Empire, a totalitarian regime ruled by Emperor Palpatine, who was also known as Darth Sidious. The true story of Order 66 is one of unimaginable betrayal, manipulation, and heartbreak. It is the story of how the Jedi, who had been the heroes of the galaxy, were reduced to fugitives and outcasts. It is the story of how the Republic, a government founded on the ideals of justice and freedom, was replaced by an empire built on fear and oppression. And it is the story of how one man, Anakin Skywalker, fell from grace and became Darth Vader, a figure synonymous with tyranny. But Order 66 is not just the story of the destruction of the Jedi. It is a story of the power of blind loyalty and the consequences of manipulation. The clones, though designed to be obedient soldiers, were also victims of a greater scheme. Their loyalty was manipulated by the dark side of the Force, and they became pawns in a galactic game they never fully understood. The execution of Order 66 was not just the end of the Jedi. It was the beginning of a dark era in the galaxy. Despite the dark nature of this event, however, there is a glimmer of hope. The Jedi may have been nearly wiped out, but their legacy lived on through those who survived: Obi-Wan, Yoda, and the few who escaped the Purge. Their struggle continued in the shadows, and eventually, a new hope arose with the formation of the Rebel Alliance. It was this resistance that would eventually topple the Empire and restore peace to the galaxy. Order 66 may have marked a tragic chapter in galactic history, but it also sparked the rise of new heroes. It is a reminder of the ever-present struggle between good and evil, light and dark, and the power of hope in the face of overwhelming odds. Ultimately, the true story of Order 66 is not just about the fall of the Jedi, but about the resilience of those who refuse to surrender to the darkness.